We've been exploring the monster manual in Dungeons and Dragons, and we were looking at some of the more obscure monster effects. We were asking the question, dinosaurs in Dungeons and Dragons. And I've pushed those up to the channel here. I wanted to jump in with monsters as a stat block. I understand in combat where monsters have a stat block, they have abilities, they have armor class, hit points. And there are some nuances, of course, and some changes if we're talking about Advanced Dungeons & Dragons 3.x or D&D Modern. But essentially, it's stats versus stats. The dice are going to leverage those stats, good or bad. Got to hit, got to cause damage, could roll high, could roll low, could make a saving throw, could fail a saving throw. And then the actual tactics in the game, whether it's theater of the mind where you are, or tabletop or virtual. So all that coming together, the idea of having a stat block for every type of monster manual entry encounter that you may face. So it's one thing to fight at lower levels, level 1. Now, there's a big difference, level 1, between a fighter and a barbarian and, say, a magic user. And you got a couple of classes like the monk and the rogue that are somewhat in the middle. And, of course, Dungeon Master's discretion. I want to say, on a sidebar for a moment, in my own game, level 1, you start off with maximum hit points for your character class, plus or minus any constitutional modifiers or adjustments. After that, I know what the rules say, D&D Modern, you get max hit points, just everything's in your favor. You got to roll for it. You could roll a 1, you could roll a 6, you could roll a 12. Sad face is a barbarian rolling a 1, on a D10 or a D12, depending on the system. A mage rolling 1D4, I want a 4, but if I roll a 1 and my con bonus is +1, I'm a mage. I can only take 2 or 3 hits as it is. So I frame that because at level 1, you could play a fighter that has low hit points, but there is a huge difference between a level 1 fighter, jacked up hit points, and a level 1 mage. So this leads to the question of certain entries. It's one thing not even talking a dire wolf, jacked up, right? Dire bear, not even talking about, but just a war dog, a brown bear, a giant spider, a rat swarm. You could see those potentially killing a player, a low-level PC, if they get unlucky. But then this idea of stat blocks kind of falls apart, where we had a player, it was in Greyhawk, just I don't even know. I don't even remember how it happened. It was AD&D so long ago. Now they were playing a mage, okay? They got killed by a chicken. Literally. I don't remember what happened, if the thief was doing something to steal something from a farmhouse. I don't remember what, but all I remember is a mage got killed by a chicken. Now, not that D&D is ever real life. I mean, we kind of draw some parallels because we're experiencing life, and that's kind of the framework that we do. So we imagine how a sword works, or we imagine how magic works. I mean, could you be killed by a chicken? I don't know. So this leads to this idea of, I think there are certain stat blocks that, and I should say this, a level 1 character, this is what's kind of interesting and I think has been forgotten in D&D Modern. A level 1 character is a big deal. Most players, most NPCs, most of the actors in the game, they're level 0. They're this kind of standard commoner stats in AD&D. Level 1 means you've had some significant training. Now, if you're a level 1 fighter, I won't say you've seen battles before, but maybe you've participated in a skirmish. You've received training in arms and armor. You've received training in tactics. You've been hardened. Likewise, a mage isn't doing incredible study traveling the plains at level 1, but you've been around your master probably for 10 or 15 years. You've studied some magic. You've acquired some spells. You know some theory. Level 1 is just to be at level 1 is more than most of the D&D universe obtains, which on a side note, you look at the stat blocks, especially in AD&D of various monsters, you realize these monsters, are no baby cakes. A level 5 or 6 character in AD&D is already equivalent, I think, historically and in mythology to a hero. Level 10 or 15 is almost like Achilles type stuff. So we see some of these monster stat blocks that are really, really, really powerful. So a level 1 character, I think, even at its base, and again, big difference between a level 1 magic user and a level 1 fighter. I think once you hit level 1 with your training and experience, even with 0 experience points, certain common monsters, common stat block monsters should not be able to kill you. Maybe you get unlucky and you get knocked out, but I don't think they should be able to kill you. Your thoughts on that in terms of D&D, the kind of common everyday monsters in the monster manual that aren't really monsters, technically they could kill a low-level player. D&D Modern, it's very, very, very hard to die. And I'm not only talking about just healing word and surges and blessings and temporary hit points and all this type of stuff. But in theory, I haven't seen it in D&D Modern, it is possible with that also. Your thoughts on that, both as a player and or as a DM?